The three-part series, The Tetris Murders, premieres December 5th on Investigation Discovery. Lieutenant Sandra Brown here to chat all about the mystery behind the murders of one of the co-creators of the hit 80s and 90s game Tetris and his family. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you, Rudy.
You were the former CSI tech investigator for the Palo Alto Police Department on the case. Tell us a little bit about what your job entailed, at that time.
I was a crime scene investigator for 24 years, 20 years during my time. And so our job is to go in and collect evidence, right? And so that means photos and blood swabs and weapons and all the stuff that we need in order to, if we go to court, to prove a crime or disprove a crime, right? And so on this particular one, that was primarily what my job was, to go in and collect evidence.
Probably for someone from the outside, it's like two people are dead, one person has a weapon, case closed, but there's a lot more to the story.
Oh yes, it does look cut and dry. And actually, I was looking at the report the other day of Vladimir, the man who is accused, Vladimir Kilko, is accused of killing his family. We initially listed him as a victim. When I look back at that, when we walk into these scenes, I'm looking at the blood spatter, okay, on the door. I'm looking at the knife in his hand. And I got to be honest with you, Rudy, it didn't add up to me. The blade was facing the wrong direction. The blood was low on the door. And that was the first thing I said, wait a minute. If this man cut his own throat, he would have had to been lying down when he did it. And so it's almost impossible at 6 foot plus tall to get blood down there at a 90-degree angle. So I was a little suspicious. I was suspicious about several things in that scene that first night. And a lot of us questioned it, right? But you know what? We turn in the evidence, and then the autopsy occurs, and then we were told by two autopsies, the pathologist, that this was a murder-suicide. So we throw up our hands and we go, well, no one's listening to us, so there you go. But I got to be honest with you. 24 years later, I found some information in that blew my mind, Rudy. Some things that I didn't know 24 years ago. When we finished that crime, I didn't think he killed himself and his family. 24 years later, I think I was right. I think several of us were right. I don't want to give spoilers to this case. When people watch this, they're going to see my face. They're going to see me go, what? They're going to see me shocked by some of the things that I discovered 24 years later. And I'm going to tell you, it's solidified in my mind. I don't think he killed himself. I really don't. I don't think he killed his family.
No, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but there's a part where you see the barbecue and a couple of important documents that are in there that I'm like, at that moment, I'm like, I want to see every single document. What is inside of that barbecue right there?
It was weird. The things that were burned didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. An airline ticket. Okay, so what? Right? It was just strange. A plus B does not make C. And so it almost felt really like it was staged. Okay, let's burn some stuff. Right, put the knife in his hand. Well, but they put it in backwards, right? It seemed like it was in backwards. There's a couple other things that will come out on the three-part series. I want people to take this trip. I want people to come on this path with us, because it's not just me. There were other investigators in this case that thought, it seemed a little suspicious. And I can't give stuff away, but you'll find out that, we may not ever be able to solve this case. But I want to give some folks in the community an idea that maybe he didn't kill himself. Maybe he didn't murder his child and murder his wife. And that's that's the only thing I can give them, is it's a possibility that this didn't happen the way that it happened. But come on for the ride, check everything out with us. And then you come to your own, not you, Rudy, but your viewers come to their own ideas about what this case was about. Because you're right. Tetris was an awesome game in the 80s and the 90s. I loved it, right? I played it on my computer. I played it on my phone. I think it's still available. I just want people to think maybe this man did not commit this heinous crime. And that's what I'm hoping for.
And just like, Tetris is a mind game where you have to really concentrate and put the pieces and they don't always fall down in the right order. It feels like
Yes.
This is exactly the same way that we're uncovering this case.
Yes, and it's interesting that you say that, because it does seem like, it is a Tetris game. The pieces are falling into place. And that's what I want people to see. The pieces are going to fall into place. It's interesting. So come on down the path with us and see what happens. Okay, so Tetris, I didn't know at the time, was a game that was developed in Russia. And this family came from Russia. They settled in Palo Alto, in an area that's settled by a lot of Jewish folks that came from Russia, right? And so the game was very popular, but there was a lot of money issues that were going on. There was a lot of history with Tetris here in our country. Maybe some folks were trying to take advantage. Maybe Vladimir Pahilko, he had his own company that was a gaming company also. So a lot of folks thought the Russian mob got involved in this. Maybe he borrowed some money. Maybe he couldn't pay it back. Maybe this is a hit to give people, as a not a clue, but to give people a sign, that maybe he did something wrong. I don't know. Sad case. I mean, I know I'm smiling and I seem excited. This was a sad case. A little boy was murdered. A mother and a father were murdered. And I hope we get some. I hope we get some empathy for the family, but I also hope we get some calmness that maybe it didn't happen the way we said it did.
Wonderful. Well, Lieutenant, thank you so much for your time today. The 3-part series, The Tetris Murders, premieres December 5th on Investigation Discovery.
Thank you, Rudy.
Thank you.